Hey guys, do check lifestyle here, back with another video. Here you're going to hear Gary Gensler waffle away on CNBC about Bitcoin, and he's going to be called out on not necessarily Bitcoin is the problem. One of the guys actually tells him, look, compared to Bitcoin, money laundering is done much more with the dollar in short. So let me get this playing. If you like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe.
On many of which are actually something called investment contracts or securities, and the platforms upon which you trade, the intermediaries. Right. They're not like in this building, NASDAQ, that has protections and against fraud, manipulation, and the like.
Just seeing people lose their shirt on with NASDAQ stocks.
You can lose because there's risk. There's risk in investments. But what we try to do as a society is take some of the fraud and manipulation risk out of the markets by regulation.
Is that the problem, though? It's not necessarily Bitcoin, the underlying asset, but more the froth and the potential for fraudsters to use it that has been
this is a field, Becky, that's been rife with fraud and manipulation. And look at all the bankruptcies. And you've had on this set people talking about those various bankruptcies. And it's not just one entity. It's entity after entity after entity up in the bankruptcy court.
Here's the problem with
what do you make of
with Gary Gensler, right? He understands the market. He knows about crypto. He actually taught about cryptocurrency. So my issue here is, why has he not gone down the regulatory route and done proper regulations for this market so that people can get an understanding of what's really happening? He has been the problem holding this market back, especially in America. Now that he's released the ETFs, there's the feeling that he's going to be slightly more lighter touch, but let me carry on.
This goes to the underlying piece of this. You've heard Jamie Dimon say that he would close it down, that basically Bitcoin you've seen the comments, right? It's not just that he closed down, that he would say it's used by drug dealers and used by folks who are doing all sorts of illicit and terrible things. There's very few things that trade today that people talk about like that. Now, there are obviously frauds and things that happen, but maybe not like this.
Like the dollar is like 100 times more.
Well, I know that's your perspective, but I'm just I'm curious how you think about that.
That's true, though. This is how much has been money laundered with Bitcoin. This is how much. This is Bitcoin. This is dollar.
Yes, Joe. Look, here's the Jamie Dimon quote. The only true use case for it is for criminals, drug traffickers, money laundering, and tax avoidance. I know, but we have a guest.
That's his opinion.
We have a guest, Joe. What is your opinion? And what is your opinion that we have something trading on the exchange for the public that has this type of use case, at least as described by the president of one of the largest financial institutions in the country?
It's the leading market share in ransomware, and that's publicly known.
Right.
It's the token of choice for ransomware. Joe, if I can say, the U.S. dollar, the euro, the yen, you have the whole society using it as a medium of exchange. We buy our cups of coffee, as I see here. Right. We get paid in dollars or yen or euro. And you have a whole central bank and support for one currency generally per economic region. That we don't have here. So there is a very real economic difference.
Which is part of the attraction, since it's decentralizzed, and you can't have a profligate central bank.
It's not that decentralized, Joe.
Well, I know you're saying because of the ETFs, but really it is.
No, it's not that decentralized, because look how finance tends towards centralization since antiquity. Right. So what do we have? We have a handful of 3 to 6 core so-called crypto exchange.
I understand, but the asset itself, the way that
that's how the
distributed
ledger.
Right, that's how the ledger. And
now, how many times do you have people on this show that say, "I want to invest in something because how the books and records are kept"? I mean, Joe, really? It's just an accounting ledger, a clever.
It's a ledger that everyone has, and can't be double counted. It's almost immutable. That's why people think it has inherent value.
So you trust it more than an Oracle database, or you trust it more?
I trust it more than a lot of the Bitcoin bulls say they trust it a lot more than the central bank that enables the fiscal authorities to spend money to the tune of $33 trillion.
That's everybody's investment choice. But
and then I think about how many things can be used in a deleterious way. Of course, but that doesn't. It has nothing to do with the underlying thing that you're using itself. I mean, I can go run a car into a parade and run over 40 people. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have cars, does it?
No,
Amen.
no. You
love that. Love the analogy there, which he used to say that what Gary Gensler is actually doing. I think he's going to call him out. He's been a bit capricious, to be honest with you. Not at all true to what he's saying. And as far as I'm concerned, he's just trying to waffle his way through this interview.
should have cars.
I wasn't going to use guns because, God, I don't want to trigger, so to speak, anyone on the set. But
when the use case of a particular thing that you're buying and selling as an investment is just speculative investment.
How many of the 90% of the people that own Bitcoin are using it for ransomware? There must be another use case that makes it so attractive to so many people.
Speculative investing.
Right. Speculative investing. That's what. Okay. Let me ask a separate question, which is just to pivot this, because I think the next sort of order event question is what happens to Ethereum. For those in the crypto world, they all want to know how you're thinking about that. And really, if Ethereum is a security, how does that analysis differ from how you would think about Bitcoin?
What we did in January was cabin to one set of filings. We have other filings. You're absolutely right in front of us, but I'm not going to prejudge it for you or the audience. That's something that a 5-member commission discusses and reviews.
Let me ask you a different question, which has to do with indexing. So much of our
dodging the bullet on ETH. Now, I don't know if you know this, but there is going to be a documentary coming out. I'm not sure if it's out yet at all. Coming out on ETHgate, and it's going to be aired on Netflix. So it's going to have a massive viewing. Watch this space. I'm not sure if Gary Gensler is going to allow ETH in its current form to have an ETF. I am not 100% sure. However, we'll see. We'll see. Now I'm going to play you a video from Edward Farina. He posted this. Brad Garlinghouse expects custody digital assets market to reach over $10 trillion by the year 2030. The price of XRP is set to explode. The global digital custody market size was valued at $450 million in 2022. So let's get this played.
The macro environment around custody digital assets is expected to be close to $10 trillion by the year 2030. And inevitably, people are going to need a place to store those assets, and safe, secure, and they're going to need to be able to transfer them as well, having good on and off ramps, even a tokenization engine, some of the work Ripple is doing around central bank digital currencies or CBDCs. So we think there's a lot of pieces that come together, and we already had, and I remember when you and I first spoke, I remember being on a call with one of the largest top 10 banks in the world, and a bank Ripple was already working with, and they were asking us about could we help them with their custody. This is prior to the Medico acquisition, and we weren't in a position to do that. And so when we think about that synergy, the ability to say to that existing Ripple customer, hey, here's a best-in-class, going head-to-head time and time again and winning on the custody level, to be able to bring that product to them, I think is a great opportunity for the two companies together. So,
right. This is really big news. I had a video yesterday regarding this Medico acquisition. I couldn't find this video, so now I found it, and I hope you guys understand literally what's taking place, especially with Ripple. The acquisitions of custody, making them one whole entity for custody, production, DeFi, all that kind of stuff. This is the reason why Ripple is trying to be much more compliant than most of the other assets out there. And you've heard Gary Gensler talk about, the space is rife for. Well, there is over 20,000, maybe 30,000 tokens, and more being released every day. And not all of them are going to be legitimate entities at all. Until this space is regulated properly, then people are not going to know what to produce and how to move forward. And there's only going to be like a few tokens that are going to be chosen, especially when it comes down to the ISO 222 tokens. 99% of the value of 99% of the cryptocurrencies on the market will disappear. 1% will survive. This happened in the dot-com bubble. We had companies like what was it? It was a Pets. Was it Pets.com or something of that nature? One of those. And we had Napster. All those kind of technologies being released at the same time when we had the smartphone and all that kind of stuff coming out, and a lot of those technologies disappeared. You know what I mean? They never made it, and then we had much more inventions come along. We had Google and all those kind of things, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, PayPal, Netflix. After, but I mean, all these companies came along and started to build in this market, and people made a lot of money. And had I known about it then, I would probably not be sat here doing videos. I'll probably be on some beach somewhere doing something. I don't know, but this is video from Brad came out in October 2023. Now move fast forward to February. They have now acquired Standard Custody and Metico, and I'm going to play you a couple more videos from Polysign Standard Custody, and then I'm going to end it there. If you like this kind of content, please do like, subscribe, take care of yourself, guys.
Our vice chairman, Tim Keeney, used to run all asset servicing at BNY Mellon. So he and I have shared this vision of where the business would ultimately go. It happened quicker than we thought because of the opportunity to acquire MG Stover. The clients segments are the same. So the idea is to cross-sell custody to the fund administration clients, sell fund administration to the custody clients. And what we can do with the data behind the scenes in terms of reconciling data, pricing positions, reporting, et cetera, really starts to have some powerful synergies when you put those businesses together. And so we're quite excited about that business. It's been 6 months. We did a capital raise in the middle of last year, brought in some great investors to lead that round and to acquire that business. And we're very excited about partnering those businesses going forward. Skipping ahead, we're all investors, and, part of investing is exiting. And I do think about that. My job as a CEO is to grow a business that will ultimately result in an exit of some sort. That can take many shapes and sizes, but one of the strategic thesis that we had in acquiring the MG Stover business is it makes it more attractive ultimately on the exit because it mirrors this business model that the traditional asset servicing firms have, and could be a tuck-in acquisition for one of those types of banks, down the road when we're ready to get to that. At Standard Custody, we've built our business specifically to avoid any conflicts. So we are exclusively focused on providing custody and escrow services. We don't provide any trading functions or staking or lending or borrowing or market making, et cetera. And so I think as you watch this industry unfold, you will see more pure play custodians like Standard Custody be selected by the issuers, and then we will work in concert with market surveillance partners to provide that very important surveillance sharing agreement that the regulators seem to require.